I could get this piece of paper out of my eyes, I could see what I was doing.
Ooh.
Welcome everyone to Five Torches.
Oh,
Hi.
Christ.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome. Is there anything I can help you with today?
Hi, we had a flyer come out about a tour around a museum stroke factory thing.
Oh yes, the BoggOdd Oddities Museum,
That's the one.
the home of the strange, the unusual, and odd.
Ooh.
That sounds incredibly enticing. I think that's why we're here.
Oh, okay. The museum is just a little walk. I just need 5 minutes to turn on a few candles.
Oh, right,
Take
sure.
your time.
No problem. We'll peruse the market perhaps while you're illuminating.
And this is my twin sister, Bagatha.
Oh,
Hello.
Nice to
Hi,
meet
nice
you.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you all. We'll be ready shortly to give tours of them. Going to go lead them this way, Boggert, if we're ready.
Yeah, everything's ready.
All right, alas, we're going to get them. We'll be back.
okay.
Did have something unusual, Boggert. Mr. Quinoa gave me something.
What did he give?
The ladder, but he doesn't want you to open it or read it. He just to look at the envelope, but that's all. He said that, he said he read what was inside there, and it made him talk like Elias.
You better hold on to that.
I got it. Let's go. Okay, everyone. It
Think
looks
that's
like
awesome? See, they shook their heads no. They shook their
No,
heads
they
no.
shook their head yes, that they
No,
thought it
they're
was
shaking their
awesome.
heads no.
Let's stop upsetting the quiet people. Look, they're clearly aggravated by your approach.
all right. Welcome, everyone. We're
Well, thank
ready
you
to
so much.
make our way to the museum if you're ready for your tour.
Oh, lovely.
Sure are.
All right, right this way.
It's so nice at the end of the tour. At the end of the tour, you exit through the gift shop.
Oh, it's smart.
Wow.
Is that what it is?
Wow.
Whoa. Is it like a giant snake head?
They're really fast.
Yes, I'm very, very young. I'm 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Whoa.
There's walls missing.
Look at there.
What's a swilk?
Yes. So, when you're ready to go inside the museum, please read all the signs before
dying.
entering.
Okay.
We want to make sure that children are going to be safe inside.
Bye.
I panicked.
Gee, what did I get wrong?
I'm okay.
It's not really going to. Oh, it's not really going to like bite us, is it?
Mm.
Be fine. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
You all ready? Did you read all the signs?
I don't know how to read.
Oh, right here.
Oh,
Yeah, can't get past him.
yeah, come on, Greg, I'll read it to you.
Welcome to the BoggOdd Oddities Museum. Someone will be with you shortly.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations on Employee of the Month. I think that's you up there, right?
Thank you.
Yes, he got
Oh, well
employed
done.
last month and this month.
Oh,
Today is the first, isn't it?
Yes, it is. He's already achieved Employee of the Month for this month as well. He
That's
protected
amazing.
me at sea from cannonballs. He built a nice little awning over the top of my sofa, and one of the ships of the dam tried to take us, and it didn't get us. All the cannonballs bounced off. They destroyed the poor awning, but I survived.
Oh,
Unscathed
wow.
due to Elias.
Then did they were supposed to do.
Wow.
What a man of the people.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's
that
right.
explains how he's got Employee of the Month on day one.
Oh,
Much
yeah.
impressment.
Already achieved. All right, are you ready to begin your tour today here?
I think so.
Leave your
Oh, yeah.
preconceived notions of the normal world at this very threshold and enter the world of the mysterious, the unusual, and the odd at BoggOdd Oddities Museum. By entering the museum, you agree management not responsible for any and all incidents herein, including but not limited to falling, tripping, or plunging into wells or graves, changing of hair color, or any type of rope burns. No children are allowed unless they enjoy horrors and nightmares, and then they're perfectly welcome.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Right this way.
Please step lively into the next chamber.
As you enter the museum, your tour begins here, just on your right as you enter the doorway.
Oh yeah, okay. The sign says be sure to remember the warning, because you can't read, so I'll just read it to you.
Okay, I
Oh,
remember.
is this where we do our
These guys-
donation? Is this
Oh,
where we do the
eventually.
donation?
Eventually. Not yet, you don't have to touch it. Alright, at a blazing hot tropical free port, there stood a quiet specialty cheese shop at the end of an alley. You're probably questioning, is it appropriate to locate a cheese shop in the melting heat? The answer, no. Not because of the heat, however. It was the full cats. The cats had taken to begging at the cheese shop. As patrons were leaving, they would kindly drop a crumb or two, leaving cats to wait for the next patron, and eventually the roof's support beams groaned and popped under the weight of waiting cats. The shop owner attempted to shoo them away at first, but then realized the cats would not touch the crumbs of the most pungent cheeses. A patron remarked, "It is so hot today, the stone walls are almost sizzling." As the patron rounded the corner, the shop owner sprang into action and, gathering the most pungent cheeses, pressed them against the blazing hot stone walls where they melted, sticking them on. It really did work. To the cats, the stench of the cheese was so intense they fled to the far side of the island. The shop owner rested well that evening until suddenly the roof's support beams began to creak and groan. Running out into the dark to chase the cats off the bowing roof again, the shop owner caught a glimpse of them through the moonlight. The cats first turned their eyes and then beaks toward the shop owner. It is then the shop owner realized the roof was covered not in feral cats, but in starving, hungry vultures.
You're welcome to sniff all and to smell this pungent cheese.
It's a very pungent. They smell a lot like a dead animal. That's what was luring the vultures.
I know I can smell it from here. Good lord.
I love this place already.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we just hope people don't smell it from the outside of the museum. We have
Smells
some
like a teenager sock.
usual in here.
That made me super lightheaded. That was awesome.
You don't need to worry about getting high, do you? Just have a good old hunk of cheese and just...
Yeah.
The Great Northern Factory disaster took place on a particularly cold, dark, rainy evening. The main source of heat in the frozen north was a giant fireplace located beneath the smoke deck here above me. The factory backed up to a large rock mountain, and the entrance of a great coal mine was built down off the factory into the depths of the mountains. The top of the mountain was known as a habitat for an assortment of animals. The employees of the factory found a particularly large snake roasting on the coals late one afternoon, proceeded to prepare it for their dinner pot. It was not unusual for someone to bring what they had to share, although they could not determine who brought the snake. They made a feast of the snake and went back to work, and as the evening grew colder and darker, they placed more and more coal onto the fire. What no one had realized is that the snake roasting on the fire had chased a plump sheep from the mountaintop. The snake and the sheep both fell over the edge and landed on the smokestack. The snake plunged through down to the coals below, but the sheep was wedged in the smokestack high above the factory. The toxic smoke had already weakened most of the workers to the point they could no longer get out when the panic began. All but 3 workers were killed in the tragedy. The death toll was said to be near 458 lives, and that would remain the largest number of people killed by a single sheep for at least 2 more decades.
Whoa.
Yes.
Correct.
Right. Any questions so far on anything? Ugh.
I had a question and I forgot it.
Oh,
I
that's
think
all
I'm
right.
high off your cheese.
What in the world? How many times did you sniff the cheese?
Like 3 times.
Oh,
Let's go with yes.
Oh, the answer is yes.
Was I not supposed to? I mean, I smelled it once. I wanted some more.
Oh no.
Some pretty good stuff, let me tell you.
Well, it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It tasted pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
We have other things you may want to smell along the way. You're welcome to. Before you hear is a certified giraffe examination chair. It has been placed here as a public service by the Giraffe Handlers Association. When a giraffe needs to be examined for multiple reasons, it's easier to inspect them from closer to their height. The doctor will climb up to the chair, and the giraffe will be brought closer for inspection purposes. But what type of inspection, you may ask? One purpose is to see whether they have the giraffe-like teeth or the less common human-like teeth, of course. But a far more common reason is to see if the ears have been laid with spider eggs again, as giraffe ears are known to be the perfect habitat for spider eggs. Laying their eggs deep in the giraffe's warm ear hairs, they lie forgotten until the time comes for the hatching. If you have giraffes, tame or wild, near your home, be sure that they do not shake their heads frequently. This is the first sign that the spider egg laying has occurred. If your giraffes have ears infested with spider eggs, the time will come they will hatch, and the giraffe's head shaking will deposit hatchlings around and throughout your home.
Oh crap! We got drafts on our island. We gotta be careful.
Yeah, I'm never running those.
No, not a giraffe island.
And you also have to be careful. If you see a spider, it's already seen you and started making a run for you. So you just got to be careful of them spiders.
Oh crap!
Damon,
Hello back there.
have you not ever noticed? Oh, Christ.
Jesus, scared the crap out of me.
Sure,
I'm
guess.
really high.
Popped up out of a hole in the floor.
My goodness. We were just
We
doing
were spider for a second.
a giraffe lesson here. Looking about the giraffes and how the spiders like to lay the eggs deep in the giraffe's ear hairs so they can lie forgotten until the time comes for them to hatch. And when they hatch, if your giraffes shake their heads often, they're going to shake and deposit the little tiny hatchlings around and throughout your home.
I was going to say, if you wanted to do the first couple of exhibits again for the newcomers, I'm sure we don't mind.
All right,
We don't
yes.
mind.
Okay, we can circle back.
Can I
through.
smell the cheese again?
Oh, it's up to you.
Oh, the cheese again. All right, you're welcome to.
Oh, that's some good cheese. I need some of the cheese.
Cheese. Just don't get too struck on our cheeses here.
So good.
At a blazing hot tropical Freeport, there stood a quiet specialty cheese shop at the end of an alley. You're probably questioning, is it appropriate to locate a cheese shop in the melting heat? The answer, no. Not because of the heat, however, was the feral cats. The cats had taken to begging at the cheese shop, and as patrons were leaving, they would kindly drop a crumb or two, leaving the cat to wait for the next patron, and eventually, the roof support beams groaned and popped under the weight of so many waiting cats. The shop owner attempted to shoo them away, but then realized the cats would not touch the crumbs of the most pungent cheeses. A patron remarked, "It is so hot today, the stone walls are almost sizzling." As the patron rounded the corner, the shop owner sprang into action and, gathering the most pungent of cheeses, pressed them against the blazing hot walls, where they melted, sticking them on. It really did work. To the cats, the stench of the cheese was so intense that they fled the far side of the island. The shop owner rested well that evening until suddenly the roof support beams began to creak and groan, and running out into the dark to chase the cats off the bowing roof, the shop owner caught a glimpse of them through the moonlight. The cats first turned their eyes and then their beaks toward the shop owner. It's then the shop owner realized the roof was covered not in feral cats, but in starving, hungry vultures.
Oh, that's scary.
And you're welcome to smell the wild to get a sniff of the pungent cheese.
They're so
Never too much.
Ooh, that's sharp.
Oh, it brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it?
Oh, that's good. That means it's the right kind of cheese. All right, the tour remains here beside me. The Great Northern Factory disaster took place on a particularly cold, dark, rainy evening. Main source of heat in the frozen north was a giant fireplace located far below the smokestack here in front of us. The factory backed up to a great coal mine, and the coal mine was built down off the factory into the depths of the mountain. The top of the mountain was a habitat for different assortments of animals. The employees of the factory found a particularly large snake roasting on the coals late one afternoon and proceeded to prepare it for their dinner pot. It was not unusual for someone to bring whatever they had to share, although they could not determine who brought the snake. They made a feast anyhow and went back to work. And as the evening grew colder and darker, they placed more and more coals onto the fire. What no one realized is that the snake, deliciously roasting on the fire, had chased a rather plump sheep off the mountaintop. The snake and the sheep both fell over the edge and landed on top of the smokestack above the factory. The snake plunged further through, down to the coals below, and the sheep was wedged in the smokestack, high above the factory. The toxic smoke had already backed up and weakened most of the workers, to the point they could no longer get out when the panic began. All but 3 workers were killed in the tragedy. The death toll was said to be near 458 lives, and would remain the largest number of people killed by a single sheep for 2 more decades.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
That's a lot.
Sheep are very dangerous.
They can get
If I may, so you say that it's like the highest like death toll, like
Yes.
sheep-related death toll for like 2 more decades. What
2
was
decades.
the thing that like overtook it?
Sometimes people are curious and they want to know, but we don't know. We have to find out. We neglected to ask what happened 2 decades later. But this is obviously not the same sheep. This sheep has been well fed and well tended and well kept, and yes, but we're not really sure where the other sheep ended up or what it might. There might be babies out there from that original sheep. You have to be careful around them.
Right.
Keep this in mind.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right. That takes us to our next exhibit.
There's a baby sheep somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, Beefy. Good morning.
Oh, hey, BB.
Hold on, we just got him to redo the first couple of bits, so you might have to go back for those because we can't do it again. But come on, it'll be fine. Oh, I tell you what, go have a sniff of the cheese. It's fucking amazing. It'll knock your fucking testicles into your earlobes.
It's true. My testicles are in my earlobes, I think. Whatever that means.
Far off kingdom,
My testicles are missing.
Rotten King reigned supreme. He was known to frequently decide he had been slighted and to place people in prison to be punished, or even worse. The king unexpectedly ordered a particularly complicated feast from his chef Arthur in the middle of the night. The chef and the kitchen staff worked frantically, as tired as they were, to create a culinary masterpiece. The feast was a triumph, and the king later sent word, if he may speak with the chef. Word arrived early in the morning. The king would be to the kitchens within the hour, and the kitchen staff readied themselves for his visit. The king arrived with guards and quietly toured the kitchens as he thoroughly inspected many things. Nothing was said, and then the king looked at his guards as he approached the exit and nodded. The king's guards proceeded to destroy the kitchen's pots and pans and tools, and the guards turned to the chef and said, "The king would like you to know he is displeased last night's feast. You forgot to serve sea salt instead of salt with his meal." Yes, but the chef was aghast. He knew he had served the sea salt. He prepared it himself. He only said "aye" before he was cut off. He was told he was to be removed from the king's staff and be placed in the prisons to await his further punishment. The king felt assured that mistakes would no longer be made in his kitchen, and as a test a few weeks later, he had a new feast prepared for the opening of the Knights tournament. At the end of that tournament, a victorious knight stood remaining. The king was so unhappy and felt slighted again that his favorite knight did not win, that he himself rushed the knight with a dagger in hand. But the knight flicked away the dagger and gave the king what was intended for the knight. The king now removed life and power. The knight made their way to the throne and were seated. The shocked crowd dropped the facade of reverence for the old king and warmly cheered a new powerful leader. The guards, also shocked, but no longer hiding their contempt for the rotten king, said, "All hail the new king." To which the knight removed their helmet and said, "Queen." "All hail the new queen," said the guards. "What would you have us do, your majesty?" they asked. "Firstly, bring me Arthur, the chef from the prisons." Arthur approached the new queen, and he quietly asked her, "Daughter, what has happened? And are those my pots and pans you're wearing?" "There's time to explain it all, father," she said. "They sent them to me at the blacksmith shop for repairs. They did not know I was your daughter." She smiled pleasantly at her father as they waved toward the crowd over the tournament field and the cold, dead body of the former king. "You always said that your pots and pans would bring us good fortune, father. You just didn't know how right you were."
That's awesome.
I like this one a lot.
God.
Yeah, this is a really good one.
"Oh, well, thank you very much."
As we proceed into the next room, please do not panic. Everything is under control. If there is an actual fire, we will direct you to the nearest fire exit.
"That's right, it's only fire that looks like fire. There's nothing mysterious at all."
I like fire.
Oh,
I like them.
Fire.
Hey, monkey.
I like
Fire?
fire.
Yeah, me too.
It's a good thing Ethan's not here.
On a roasting hot desert island, it rarely rained. House fires were happening frequently, and to help combat those fires, the residents used what they had in order to craft 2 fire carts. These carts, each pulled by the best rhinosaur the island could breed, were filled with water and pulled from location to location. Raspberry Monkey, found wandering an island, used as a turtle habitat, was a pet of the head of the fire cart haulers. Out on one of their first patrols, they discovered something unusual, though. Raspberry had previously been trained to pull a cart. They decided that given his constant insistence that he be handed the reins, Raspberry would be trained to drive the rhinosaur of cart number 2. This worked more than well. Raspberry was already a complete natural at cart handling, and in fact needed no instruction at all. They even crafted a small seat just for him. This allowed the others to focus more on the fires, and months passed, with the carts raced to and from the fires, with Raspberry excitedly guiding the carts all the way. One afternoon, after a particularly difficult morning of fighting a long series of fires, the bells rang again. It was time to ready the carts, and Raspberry could not be located. The head of the fire cart haulers went to Raspberry's room and found the monkey asleep in bed. Knowing that the poor creature must be exhausted after the morning had, they had another member of the fire cart haulers pull the reins. They left without tired Raspberry and headed to the fire. Along the way, they spotted an unreported house fire and slowed cart number 2 so they could put out a quick fire before catching back up to cart number 1. While spraying down the house, the front door burst open, and a soaking wet Raspberry emerged with an extinguished torch in his hand. Not believing that Raspberry could be both asleep and at the scene of the fire, they checked the bed again. Neatly shaped and arranged was a pair of trousers, made to look like a sleeping mummy. Raspberry was wise at a great many things, cart hauling and deception being among his greatest talents. He was returned to the offices of the Turtle Sanctuary, where he was found, so he could retire from his very busy life. The fire stopped overnight. The cart haulers were quiet until one afternoon a flare was fired. A representative from a neighboring island had arrived, and they wanted advice on fire carts, for they had been plagued with fires recently. They also needed something unusual, a small seat in the front, as they had the oddest thing. A monkey who knew how to drive a cart.
What a smart monkey.
Did monkey have a name?
It's raspberry.
It's raspberry.
Raspberry. That's the monkey.
That's
When they said raspberry, it just made me hungry, and then I started thinking about raspberries.
This monkey simply represents raspberry, but this monkey's name is Margaret.
Oh, hello, Margaret.
Margaret.
Hello, Margaret.
yeah.
Hi, Margaret.
Margaret's
She
not
doesn't have a
burned.
penchant for torches, right?
So is Margaret a pyromaniacal marsupial as well? That was a mouthful, and I'm amazed I fucking got it out.
Well, if you do look at her tail, it's kind of dipped in charcoal.
Yeah, we get worried. So far, the museum has held, and she's not burned anything down yet. There's been a chance, so she must be pretty good, behaving herself.
Oh,
That's good.
The tour continues this way. Please be careful. Do not fall into the pit behind you.
Oh my.
Oh, okay.
I'll try not.
Oh,
I'll
this
get
is not
that,
a
please.
tavern filled with delicious libations. In fact, if you had been here 50 years ago, you would be dead. It was not unusual a long time ago to place additives in your spirits to give them interesting afternotes, be it bittersweet or bittersweet. It was an unusually crowded evening the night before and would be again at a combination inn and tavern. The tavern keep was too busy to go for the ingredients for a top note to add to the evening. The tavern keep sibling was sent instead to pick up the rare, delicious, green sweet ingredient, Magistine. The herbologist, however, was also out, and in their stead their apprentice was working. The assistant herbologist mistook the requested Magistine for the more common pest remover maggot stem. Nearly identical in both appearance and flavor, coupled with the unfortunate similarity in their names, the switch was made. The maggot stem was delivered to the tavern and used to give the libations a smooth sweetness. As is custom with a spirit house attached to overnight accommodations, the drinks poured heavily and quickly. The hallucinations began an hour into the evening, and the vomiting began shortly thereafter. Ingestion of maggot stem was said to produce hallucinations, such as liquid running down the walls, inanimate objects breathing, skies filled with flying animals, and the mistaking of human form for animal. The chaos of their visions, coupled with their vomiting, began a putrid battle inside the tavern, where all fought for their very lives. Any who made it outside were driven back in by the visions in the skies. Those victors who survived the vomitous battle were said to have lain unconscious on these very floorboards until their hearts slowed to death.
Ooh,
Talk about a bad trip.
this is insane. I like this story.
Probably good thing that our tavern doesn't actually have any walls.
No walls? Alright, so no liquid can run down the walls.
No liquid running down the walls. Anybody needing to get out has 4 different directions that they can run, screaming in terror.
Oh, yes.
And you got nice wind flow too to take the stench.
Aye.
The smells with them. Oh, how wonderful. Well,
Normally
if
the
they-
fleeing in terror only starts when people start singing, so, you know, good.
We've heard of people fleeing in terror when the bill arrives as well. Just depends on how busy they've been at the taverns.
No, only that little shit with innocence.
No. Across the hall from me here is our next exhibit. I won't make my way across the hall myself, but you're welcome to gaze down into the exhibit across from me here. If you've been to a hot, humid, tropical island, you know all too well the heat can be unrelenting. 2 elderly brothers were looking for their lost goat near their home, and they stumbled upon something, a very large abandoned well. The well had run low of water, but the inside had a beautiful pool at the bottom. The brothers knelt beside the lid to the well, and when they opened it, they could feel the cool, refreshing air blow past them. They thought about and discussed that well the remainder of the day and night. They woke the next morning with a plan. They would put a ladder down the well and see what was inside. They slipped from the final ladder rung into a cool, dark water and enjoyed the most luxuriously pleasant soak in neck-high, perfectly chilled water. The water drained a bit more over time, and instead of floating, they now had to kneel or sit on the bottom of the well. This did not suit the aging frames, and they began to talk of a new plan. It was decided to make the well a bit more comfortable, and they moved some furniture down, using ropes and a goat who was finally found in time to lower their things through the hatch from above. This would be their final plan. Their friend, who knew of the well and having not seen the brothers for some time, began to worry and look for them. When they approached the well, they could already tell something was wrong. The scent of mold and mildew and end of life met their friend before the well. For you see, as the brothers were soaking in the cool, damp richness of the well, their furniture was also soaking. The introduction of furniture began a growth of mold and mildew and rot that first tainted the well and then outright poisoned it. As furniture was slowly mildewing and molding from the outside, the cool, damp, dark back of the chairs was growing a deadly fungus. Before that fungus could be discovered, it had already started to emit toxic spores, which filled the well and the lungs of the two elderly brothers.
Way to go.
That's
Oh my god.
Unfortunate.
Considering the amount of secret places we've got in our town, I'm starting to think I need to put a few more windows in.
Ventilation is your
Oh, don't
friend.
sniff that. Mind you, if you can survive that cheese, you can probably survive the fucking mold.
You know, it's good. Pretty good.
Oh.
Far beneath the beautiful country estate lie a strange fate for those unfortunate enough to have encountered a pair of mad noble women. They had a secret which would have run the blood cold of those in the aristocratic circles that kept themselves. The mad women had developed a very odd diet preference. Human toenails. Half-hearted soldier, drunken sailor, a sea wench, they preyed upon all of them. They went out into the dark night to round up their victims. They would wait outside the taverns and the dance halls for those inebriated enough not to put up a fight. A bag over their head and about 6 spins around was enough to knock even the stoutest person unconscious if they had been plied with enough drink. They'd be locked into the chambers here on each side of me, and they're scrubbed, cleaned, and the toenails carefully trimmed so as not to waste an ounce of that precious resource. And I know what you're wondering. Why did the sisters not just pull the toenails out at the root? After all, that's the sensible thing to do. Well, the sisters weren't monsters. They were just oddly hungry. So very hungry. Each victim awakened dumped on the outskirts of town, shoeless, sockless, pants rolled to their knees. But their feet had been beautifully scrubbed, and their toenails had been perfectly trimmed. The sisters were caught. One day they mistook a pair of sleep officers for inebriated, and were overcome by them, threatening with having their own toenails pulled out at the root. It is the sensible thing to do. They confessed to the entire ruse. Afterward, they fell from grace and out of high society, and they took on new identities. They began to work in a wash house, trimming the nails of the patrons who came to bathe, thereby secretly continuing to feed their very unusual hunger.
Almost sounds like a win-win.
Wow. Yeah.
And they worked it out in time. It all worked.
Did they like eat painted toenails too? Do they like those ones too? Probably like extra flavor, huh?
I don't know. It's curious though. They call that out. Maybe it's a flavor as well.
It could be extra flavor. Sometimes it comes in like a cherry toenail polish.
Or like a scratch and sniff,
Cherry toenail.
Ooh,
like the cheese.
a cheese toenail.
Pungent.
No, scratch. Oh, yes, a cheese toenail then.
Wow.
A new beautiful island Freeport. was too close to the Deepwater Ocean.
Hello.
The frequent ship traffic to and from the island angered the residents of the dark waters. Many different creatures made their way from the depths to investigate the
Hello?
new
Is
disturbances.
anybody here?
As swirling waters mix new warm water down into the formerly cool trench water.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I think you have some visitors here. I
Oh,
saw 2 ships come in.
oh, okay. We're in the middle of a tour. Was you looking to do a tour?
Oh no, I'm Pierre's friend. We were just camping out for the night, and then I came into town and I saw 2 ships, and I was like, oh, I should probably find somebody, see if anybody's
Ah,
up and
okay.
at 'em.
Okay, let me check. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Baked.
Oh, nice to meet you, Baked. I'm Boggert. Boggert Slime.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is my monkey. He's my companion. His name is Potato. Together, we're Baked and Potato.
Oh, a potato. Oh, that's nice. Baked and a potato.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like having some cheese to go along with that.
Actually, I like bacon.
Oh, you're in luck. We're starting to raise domestic pigs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you should go check before they leave.
Okay.
You.
Ah, thank you.
There's another group looking for a tour.
We can start. We're about halfway, and can double back once we get to the end, if that's okay.
Okay.
Is
Oh,
it
Gary.
we're waiting on one more.
okay?
Gary.
I'll be right back to take you on over.
Oh, hello. Oh, the man is leaving. Okay. Let's head over there. We'll see what's going on.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello, sir.
Sorry, I saw something in the distance and had to run away. I think you may have said hello, and I ran away. I didn't mean to be rude.
Yes, yes, not to worry. I am Perennis Parzival. In line we have Daniel, Miriam, Sonia, and Maggie.
Nice to meet you, everyone. There's a tour already in progress. We're at the halfway point. So if you would like, we can insert you right in the middle, and then we'll double back at the end to get the exhibits that you may have missed, if that's okay.
Is that better than us waiting for the tour to be completed?
The tour takes about an hour and 15. So
I suppose there's not enough time until your closing time for that.
well, we was wanting to see the zoo today, so
Let's just do the join in the middle. We'll still get to see everything.
yes.
Whatever. whatever works for you.
Okay, this way.
I didn't catch your name, sir.
Boggert Slime. My sister is Boggert the Slime. We're the curators of BoggOdd Oddities Museum.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Slime. All right, lead the way.
Lean
Hurry
to
up,
our
you're
cheese.
ruining the thing.
They've spotted the cheese.
There was so much cheese.
So fast. How is he so fast on these tiny legs?
I don't know. Everyone seems to be faster than me. I never understand it.
We do know that with the removal of the giant spider-like device, that it's probably become infested once again. If we had to guess.
Bagatha, there's another group here. I told them they can meet us in the halfway point here and join us.
Yes, they can go ahead and join you now if they like.
Please come on in.
Make your way inside. We've just made it to the grazing point on our tour.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, welcome.
Hello.
Name's Bagatha. Giving you the tour today. But at the moment, we are halfway through. We'll have to circle back around. Right now, we're heading to the dining area. If anyone's hungry or thirsty at all, we'll give you a break here so you can have a little bite to eat or drink.
Popcorn? Popcorn? Anybody for popcorn?
Oh,
Or
this place
Pop-Tart.
already.
Oh
Popcorn?
Popcorn? Right here?
Delicious popcorn. Oh, we have a little
Popcorn.
tubs
Get
up
your
there. We
popcorn, yeah.
have foods and beverages available. There's a few little treats in there as well. I think there's a chocolate bunny in there and a cookie and those sorts of things. If they're not gone already.
Well, you don't go ahead. My belly's full.
Yeah, mine as well.
I could snack, yes.
Thank you very much for the meal.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. We like to make sure everyone's comfortable for the full tour. We're just waiting just a moment for everyone to finalize their food plan.
Is that an organ?
Just a moment.
Oh, my goodness.
Here is what was once a beautiful, marvelous circus organ. The organ was a modern wonder. It needed no one to play it, and in fact it didn't even have keys. It produced sound through steam and a series of reused water and stovepipes, and could play the most beautiful melodies. It was pulled on 3 carts behind 3 elephants as the circus parade arrived in town. Playing all the while, it let the residents know the circus was arriving. The circus fell to ruin after the death of the ringmaster and owner. The ringmaster was thrown higher than the high wire act one evening by a pair of elephants looking to escape circus life. The audience, watching the tragedy unfold, sent out warnings to all they knew: avoid the circus at risk of peril. The organ was purchased at an auction of items from the circus by a group of ne'er-do-wells who had a plan. They would travel with this reassembled pipe organ on their ship, port to port, playing friendly melodies for tips throughout the day. They would quiet him as the shops closed and the people headed to the neighboring homes. Then, in the late hours of the evening, they would stoke the fires of the steam heater until they were raging. The beautiful music, produced with gentle steam pressure, became a howling, screeching, clangorous noise. This caused the residents to flee their homes in terror, and the horses and animals to batter their stalls, not knowing what beast was capable of such noise. The ne'er-do-wells would slow the fires eventually, but only so they could issue a proclamation. The fires would be stoked repeatedly, unless the township was able to come up with a predetermined fee to pay the ne'er-do-wells to leave their port in peace. The ne'er-do-wells landed in a port as usual one afternoon. They played the beautiful music, collected tips, and then the shops closed and the residents began to go home, and they waited. And they went to the box on the top deck to get more wood for the fires. Instead of the residents being quietly asleep, however, the entire town was standing row after row, lining the edge of the harbor, staring at the vessel. The water was already flowing into the ship by the time the ne'er-do-wells could react. The residents had been made aware of the approaching ship 2 days prior, and the residents had already formed a plan of their own. The pipe organ was dismantled, trod upon, and resulted in the warped and discolored remaining pipes you see behind me here today.
Serves him right.
That serves him right.
That's right.
That's what they did.
The tour continues this way.
It continues to the next area. Be careful not to fall into the grave.
Oh my.
What, grave?
I'm too young for a grave.
No.
Yep, there's a
On
box
in.
there.
Below us here lies the coffin of the final husband of the widow of Shallow Creek. She was called the widow because she had buried 12 husbands, 11 of whom were deceased.
Yeah, there's 3.
She begged
groups
for
there.
help from the townspeople. She said she was being haunted by the vengeful ghost of her most recent husband. The widows of the town help her. The widows formed a group which would sit in the home of the widow while she tried to rest. It was a quick rotation, however. For you see, they all eventually stared straight again into the eyes of the dead man. Each night someone sat with her, just before the skies would lighten there was a shuffling behind them. One after another, the widows fled the dark and creaking home. Once that group was exhausted, the widow of Shallow Creek pleaded to the town for more help. The young single men were sent next. They were thought to be less prone to fright. But it was the same story, however. They all ran for their lives after staring into the eyes of the man they used to know. The oldest woman in town, thought far too frail, asked, "May I go next?" She sat slumped forward, next to the warm fire in a chair, with her eyes closed, her back to the room, when the ghost appeared. His long bony fingers reaching and clawing slid up over the back of the chair and around the woman's frail, thin neck. From outside the home, a blood-curdling scream that could chase wolves to their dens was cut short. The townsfolk, worried for the frail lady, but humoring her, had kept their ears open in case she called. A number of them reached the steps of the cabin at the same time, and they clambered to the front door and flung it open. Standing tall over 2 bodies was the frail old woman. What no one realized is that the oldest woman in town was the wisest. Unable to sleep well in the cold nights due to her old bones, she would sleep in the warm daylight hours, But every night, she would watch the supposedly dead husband of the widow of Shallow Creek creep into house after house through town. For you see, as people went to sit with the terrified widow, her very much alive husband was stealing from the houses of those who came to help her. He would arrive later and scare the people so that they would go back to their homes, and he could show what he had stolen from them to his wife. The oldest woman, however, went prepared with a rolling pin in her sleeve to expose the ruse of the widow of Shallow Creek.
Oh, that's awesome.
In a remote cabin, something unusual happened. The owner of the cabin grew older and more tired, and as the years were catching up to him, he thought he needed a way to bring life back into his life. He found a place where he could, for a price, order a special tincture, promising to bring that to him. He placed an order, gave his address, and was told, wait 6 nights, and he would hear a loud bang on his door. He was not to look for the courier. He was only to wait for the 6th night. On the arranged night, he sat patiently waiting, and a loud bang was heard at the darkest portion of the night. Nearly jumping from his body, he realized only then that he was a bit stronger still than he realized. He waited a moment, then he opened the door and retrieved a package bound in hides and tied to a large stone. He thought the bottle was unusually shiny, until he realized a portion of the shine was coming from inside the bottle. He swirled the bottle through his fingers and he stared at the cork topper. He thought of his new plan and he glanced up at a portrait of his loved one, but he realized this bottle may hold more than he bargained for. What if it turned back his aging? Or what if it stopped him from aging at all? Could he decide when he was through with this powerful elixir? He sighed then, realizing now that he held the power in his hand, what he had missed was not his youth. It was that was part of his youth. It was not coming back. Angry mostly at himself, he flung the bottle into the fireplace where it coated the back of it. The fire grew and changed and roared like a tiger and spit flames across the room, but eventually settled back into a normal-looking fireplace once again. But it left him wondering what type of magic was in that tincture, and he vowed to himself he would never again try to recapture that which is meant to be left in the past.
Very spooky.
I kind of want a potion now.
No, you don't want to touch that youth juice.
Stay away from that old youth juice. You don't know what's been put in it. We told you all about the additives and stuff. You gotta be careful on the seas.
Yeah, there's a second page in small print of the side effects, and you have to make sure it's not death.
Sure, if you're reading the pages of side effects, to make sure to turn the page over and make sure if there might be something written on the back that you didn't read. But you never know.
Or the super tiny letters that they write into.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta be careful. Deep in a prison lie a cold, dark, windowless cell. A guard routinely traversed the corridors. One prisoner that they did not plan on having and did not know the history of was a magician trained in the art of lock picking. Picking the lock would come easily, but getting out would prove more difficult, as the cell was at the end of a U-shaped corridor. The prisoner had nothing but time to plan, though, as they sat in waiting, day in, day out. They watched the guards. They finally thought of a plan. The gods always took the same pathway through the loop, and they realized they could never go towards the gods, or they would be seen. But if they could go ahead of the gods, they may make it out ahead of them. One problem, though, their bed would be found empty, as they were on their way toward the exit, and the gods would be able to raise the alarm bell. In an effort to fool the gods, they began to put away slices of bread and sausages in their pillowcase. This plan was nearly ruined twice on unplanned laundry days, when they had to gorge themselves on food that they had stashed away. But finally, a dark, moonless night came, and it was dark enough for the plan to work. They neatly arranged the old bits of bread and sausages to form a vague figure, just enough for the gods to see something sleeping in the bed and to give them time to slip away. The plan went smoothly, and the prisoner was able to escape perfectly. The gods eventually discovered the ruse, and knowing how the head of the gods would react to them being fooled, and knowing what they had to do to hide the evidence, they sat down for a most unwanted feast.
You're welcome to step closer and take a look at the exhibit of how the sausages and breads were arranged.
Is this fresh bread?
It's probably moldy bread by now, but it was at some time.
Will you stop sniffing everything? Jesus Christ, what has the cheese done to you?
Can't help it.
The tour continues around the corner.
Don't eat
Gonna be
that, Barry.
chasing
Rocket,
that
you know.
thing.
Don't eat the
No,
exhibit,
don't
Barry.
eat them. You couldn't pay me to eat bread and sausages out of someone's prison pocket. That's just fucking weird.
If they allow samples.
No, don't sample the... Barry, come along.
Here before us is the interior of the city office of the butcher of Butterfly Lane, as he was later known. Shown on the table are the actual tools that he used. Fancying himself a dentist, he could convince the populace he was legitimate. Using a plant known for hallucinogenic properties, he was able to cause patients to leave their bodies while they were tied to the bed here before you. He would then remove all of the teeth of the victim, promising only to repair their teeth. It was so much easier to tell them afterward all the teeth were bad, and therefore none of the work which the fraudulent dentist could not do need be performed. Human teeth were a prized form of carotenoid, similar to bone, but with a much sturdier structure once refined properly. The fraudulent dentist would often leave his office early in the day, and that was thought odd by the community, considering how many of them needed dental work. But he had a nefarious reason for always leaving early. He was tainting the town's water supply with ground-up squid innards. The squid innards still contained a powerful acid that the squid uses to break down sharp shells that it ingests in its feeding cycle. Even once ground up, dispersed through the town's water supply, the innards had enough acid to weaken the teeth of the city dwellers to the point they needed dental work, and thereby supplying the dentist with the teeth he so needed.
Oh God. Oh.
You're welcome to look in the box or look at the tools on the table here.
No, thank you.
Oh gosh, there's
like my
teeth in there.
thank
There's
you.
teeth there.
You're welcome to take a teeth if you like.
Yeah, if you need a pair of teeth, there's plenty in there. You can take one.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Oh my.
If I could use them, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, we've had replacements. If someone's missing a tooth, you can always push one in, we've heard. We don't know the legitimacy of that, though. packed cargo freighter named the Sea Slicer sailed through a fog-shrouded sea. It lurched high and low through the seas, crates groaning at its sides. On board amongst the crew stood a mere deckhand. As the ship passed through a shimmer, a mysterious event occurred. Every person, in fact every creature everywhere, disappeared, except for the deckhand. Calling out for anyone else, he realized he was totally alone. In fear for the crates, the contents, and the ship itself, the deckhand panicked. He did not understand the workings of the ship enough to get it under control, and without a crew to pull the sails and manage the wheel, it seemed like a task that couldn't be accomplished. Hello, hello, help! He pleaded, and his plea was heard by the only other thing that inhabited the world. The figure stood before him on the other side of the cabin door. But he could immediately tell it was not human. It did not have facial features. In fact, it had no features at all. The ship careened out of control, and just as the figure was reaching through the doorway, the ship crashed on the shore of a desolate island. The deckhand was thrown overboard into the water beside the shore. While running from the ship, the deckhand began to realize he wasn't breathing normally. With every breath he took, it grew shallower and shallower. The further he made it from the figure, the less he could breathe. The world grew darker and darker until he finally went unconscious. The deckhand awakened to find himself all the way back where his voyage began. But the crew, the ship, and the cargo were never seen again. They say the shimmer figure waits just over the shimmer for its next crew. Will you be the only one it spares, or will you never be seen again?
That would give me chills. Oh my goodness.
We did have a report.
I live here now.
We did have a report recently that a crew went through the shimmer, and on the other side they saw a duplicate of themselves.
Oh my.
We've heard of a ship passing through the shimmer, and on the other side, they found a ship that looked just like theirs, and they found a crew who looked just like them, only they were sleeping, and they were left wondering, where did this other ship and crew come from? And were thinking it may be the shimmer figure, working again now, trying to duplicate people so that there's even more crew available on the other side of the shimmer. We've also heard the shimmer figure hungers. It's very hungry, and it wants to eat shoulder pets and any animals that may be left on board your deck of your ship. It's known to snatch the animals off of your ship for devouring them.
If you go over a shimmer and you see duplicates, how do you know who's the duplicate and who's the original?
That's part of the concern. We also thought that as well. How do you know? Are you still you, or are you the other you? It's up to you to figure it out on your own, I suppose. I haven't had this happen to me myself. I can't tell you how to go about figuring it out yet.
I always want to ask that age-old question. If you had to say something to your future you, what would you say to yourself?
You may get the chance. Just cross the shimmer a time or two.
Alright, we live here now. Alright, Manala.
We are back to the popcorn. Popcorn, if you need popcorn.
Yes, we have plenty of snacks and drinks available if you need anything at all.
Please do not stand too close to the exhibit. It has been known to pull people into its press.
I'll get to it soon enough. Wait for everyone who's having the snacks. The story of this printing press begins in the polar north. The freighter Frozen Sails was used to deliver supplies to a far-flung polar research base where the Frozen Institute was located. On the slippery top deck of frozen cells, a crew member called out eerily, "Who's there?" when they heard voices in the fog crying. The calling out stopped the other crew members in their tracks, and soon enough, they could hear it too. Enchanting voices calling out. But they were not calling in sorrow. They were calling in song. By the time they could raise the alarm, no one wanted to any longer. Below decks, a sleeping crew member who would be on a late shift was awakened, slid out of bed and across the sleeping quarters. Just as the crew member made it halfway out the top side, the sails, sitting untended, whirled and snapped violently in the wind. The heeling of the ship was so intense, crew members who were not already overboard were dumped overboard. The crew member was all struck with horror. The crew member had plugged their ears with rolled cotton to stop the crew from waking them, but were now oblivious to the sounds coming from the ocean. But they knew in an instant what was happening. They were all under the attack of the siren's song. The masts, weakened by the whirling and forceful snapping, groaned, gave way, and crashed down through the decks, and severely damaged the ship in the process. The crew member climbed into a dinghy, lowered themselves, and watched as their crewmates sickeningly dove underwater and swam down into the now still blue abyss. The survivor rode and rode for hours in the frozen waters until they finally reached land. They staggered onto the frosty shore, they called out, and they collapsed. They had made it to the island of the Frozen Institute, and they would very soon be found. The same cannot be said for the frozen cells and her crew. They drifted down into the frozen depths. The survivor decided to print a book to tell the tale of that horrendous day, and they used the boards from the dinghy that they survived in to create the printing press behind me to print their book on. It is said that the sea sirens had placed a curse on that dinghy because they did not get the chance to clear the ocean completely that day. The now cursed printing press behind me can at times call out to those nearby, asking them to climb into its gnashing jaws. It is rumored that it eventually devoured the crew member who created it and leaves us wondering, now, is it satisfied or will it strike again?
Oh my.
Has it ever tried to grab anybody in a tour?
No, not so far. We've had some people who became somewhat transfixed by it and may have taken a step forward or so, getting closer to it. But other than that, we haven't had any real issue.
Was this the only printing press made from the dinghy?
As far as we know, but we can't be certain. There could be another one out there somewhere, able to gnash and... We're not certain.
Oh, there's a few in the library I haven't used yet. Where do we get those?
Where did
Good
it
question,
those
Barry.
make them
Where
go?
did we get those?
I built those.
Oh, all right.
Okay, then.
Know where the wood came from that you used to build the printing presses?
It was built from the local bamboo.
All right, I think you're safe.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Reason to
Unless it's
feel
cursed bamboo.
no reason to feel the printing press itself. It's just when it's made from an unusual source, there could be some sort of curse placed upon it. You never know.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine now. Perfectly fine.
It's fine. It's already eaten and it's not hungry now.
I mean, I just ate, but I could snack again.
The next exhibit is the clockworks. If you're scared or terrified of clockworks, you may want to exit the room now.
And we're going to show you a little bit of the inner workings of the clockwork. We don't know if any of you have any of these clockworks in your area or not. We had them ordered for the museum, and They were supposed to just be some sort of standard mannequin. However, they have some sort of machinations on the inside, allows them to move around and take on different positions. It also allows for certain sounds to come from these supposed mannequins. They say that this noise that you hear is some sort of squeaky gears on the inside. It doesn't sound like any squeaky gears I've ever seen. And we're going to show you now, if you would like to see, a little bit of the inside of the clockworks.
We had a citizen of the town was afraid of the clockworks and shot the head off, and we were able to expose the innards of the brain.
Oh.
Step forward, you can take a closer look inside the head of the clockwork, where you'll see 2 rows of perfectly formed human teeth, as well as the inside of something in there growing, which appears to look almost like a human brain.
There was also eyes that we have identified inside.
What the?
That is too weird.
Ew.
It looks gooey.
Just imagine all those clockworks bobbing up and down in the water as you go through the shimmer on a foggy evening.
I'd rather not. Nope.
That leads us to our next and final exhibit here, unless you're circling back.
Please come stand in front of the double doors.
Oh, what the?
In front of you stands Hura, the oddity of Itch Meadow Farm. Born during a hurricane, it is believed that she was born mid-air the wrong way around. She is now utterly convinced that she is standing the right way up, and we cannot correct her. She does not use her hooves, and instead she drags herself along with her horns and wiggles side to side to get around. She is able to see berries on the underside of bushes that other animals miss, so maybe she's a new adaptation of the species to fill a void. Her hooves must be filed down regularly, as she does not wear them down naturally. She produces what her original owners referred to as the wrong way milk, and that it comes out the wrong way around. We here at BoggOdd Oddities refer to it as swilk. It is said that by not hanging down into the udders and cooling, the milk is able to stay hotter for a longer period of time and produces a sweeter, more mature milk with a caramel flavor undertone that is prized over regular milk. But you're free to step forward and take a sample there that Boggert has put out for you. And you're also welcome to step forward and take a closer look at her herself if you would like. Please, no stroking the udders. We've had issues.
Oh, whoa.
You said this is called swilk?
Yes, it's swilk.
Oh, can't believe you drank that.
It's milk, Daniel.
Swilk.
It's swilk. Warmer than usual.
I am amused.
It had a smoother mouthfeel.
Also, if you're using the regular milk at all, you need to be washing your milk. We've had a lot of people on the tour who are forgetting to wash their milk. We just want to make sure people know to do so.
Thank you.
James, did you do that, James?
We've made it to the end of our tour here, and you're welcome to leave us a comment here at the desk if you would like a review or a comment or whatever. And we're also accepting donations if you have anything you'd like to leave. If not, that's perfectly fine. We're happy to take any and all, or nothing, whatever.
Oh, Christ, and he became part of the exhibit.
Oh, we almost had.
There are blank letters inside the desk here if you'd like to leave a review, and you can deposit those in the deposit box in here or outside the front doors.
Would you be upside down if you did become a part of the exhibit?
Oh, that's a good idea. It may be spreading, we don't know.
If I was upside down and part of the exhibit, I'm reasonably certain that my udders would not point up.
Did we have someone faint in the...
Except on Fridays.
Are you alright, sir? Oh, no.
Harry.
Oh.
Got a bellyache from the drinking the swilk.
Drink it too fast.
Yeah, it's warm, but it gave me brain freeze.
No, not brain freeze. What in the world?
Yes. Oh.
Toes feel okay? Can you feel your toes?
I think so.
Right, well that's good. I think things are alright, surely.
Yeah. So
You better take that hat off. Take that hat off, Barry.
Yeah.
Get
Anything unusual?
fresh air on your head.
Yeah, let's give him some extra room, extra oxygen in the room.
Daniel, stop.
Did you leave our donation?
Up with the hat and help me up, will you?
Okay, good.
Right.
Oh God, you weigh a lot. Come on, Barry, get up.
You up right now?
Oh.
Right. Did you need a chair? There's a little chair over there by the stinking cheeses. Maybe if you take a whiff of the cheese, that'll help bring the air into your lungs.
A whiff of the cheese.
Works as sort of a smelling salt. It's very pungent.
Oh,
jeez.
Oh, no.
It'll work.
A privy.
No, not on the Brendan.
Oh, right, not the printing press.
Maybe the dentist area?
No, not the dentist bed. You don't want to sit in there. That's the actual dentist bed. Make you feel light for sure.
Good to see employee appreciation.
I need to get one more sniff before we leave.
There's one more for the road.
Oh, that's
Letting you
good.
back, yeah, make sure you feel alright.
Oh.
Oh, a little too much.
This is a lot. Is
Did you like suck the cheese up into your nose or something?
It's good cheese. Just sniff it real hard.
Becoming one with the pungent odors. You're gonna carry some of that odor with you for a little while.
goodbye.
Hopefully wash off.
Oh,
It is good, yeah.
Oh dear.
is there
thank you very much
cheese
for the
for
tour.
sale?
Thank you for coming.
Very welcome.
This is the best. Thank you.
Alright, everyone who has missed the
Thank you for coming.
Thank you much. That was
Thank you.
very...
God.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, the cheese was very pungent. It was very good.
You're quite... I guess it's a good thing.
It was. It was.
Have a good rest of your day. So thank you so much for the tour.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just FYI, the zoo's opening up today. I think it's up in B3. So.
B3.
So I'm not sure I have too much information on the zoo, but
Boggert.
I'll go take a look.
Yeah.
That will be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And thank you for coming.
Smell the cheese. It's wonderful.
Thank you for the good
Yeah,
time.
cheese is so
That's
good.
wonderful.
I wasn't aware you had company today. That's good.
Yes, we've had 4 groups, I think, at the moment.
Oh, excellent. Do you have anything, any more visits planned for tonight?
We're just finishing up a half tour, and we're planning on traveling up to the zoo.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what I wanted to speak with you about. Elias, I think Elias and Tansy said they were going to leave in about 5 minutes. I'm sure we can catch up with them.
Yes, I told them if anyone
Right.
needed to head up, they could go early if they need to, and we'll catch up to them.
Right. Yeah, I'll just tell them go on ahead, and then I've got just a couple of straightening
You
out
think you
to
might
do in
get
the
like
barn, and then I'll be
performance
ready.
anxiety or something? Like stand
Okay,
behind
perfect.
Him.
Sticking them
Comfortingly
on.
let him know the time's tending here
Did
and
work.
ready to assist.
To the cats, the stench of the cheese was so intense they
It's all
fled
over
to
me.
the far
God
side of the
damn it, he peed
island.
on me boot.
The shop owner rested well that evening until suddenly the roof support beams began to creak and groan. Running out into the dark to try to chase the cats off the bowing roof, the shop owner caught a glimpse of them through the moonlight. The cats first turned their eyes and then their beaks toward the shop owner. It is then the shop owner realized the roof was covered not in feral cats, but in starving, hungry vultures.
Oh, my.
For the story being what it is, it did make me feel snacky.
Oh, well, that's all right. You're welcome to have a snack if you like.
Yes, we were telling the group before it can sniff the wall and still smell the pungent cheese.
Oh, I tried that.
Don't do that again. We've already gathered you from there. Don't, no, not again. Great Northern.
Why does that say spiders may fall from above?
Don't worry about that yet. Not yet. We're not there yet.
I didn't cover it up in time. He read it too fast.
Too fast. Gotta be quicker, Boggert.
I know.
The Great Northern Factory disaster took place on a particularly cold, dark, rainy evening. The main source of heat in the frozen north was a giant fireplace located beneath the smokestack here in front of us. The smokestack backed to a large rock mountain, and the entrance to a coal mine was built off of the factory down into the depths of the mountain. The top of the mountain was a habitat for an assortment of different animals. The employees of the factory found a particularly large snake roasting on the coals late one afternoon and proceeded to prepare it for the dinner pot. It was not unusual for someone to bring whatever they had to share, although they could not determine who brought the snake. They made a feast of the snake anyhow and went back to work. As the evening grew colder and darker, they placed more and more coal into the fires, and what no one realized is the snake roasting on the fire had chased a sheep from the mountain top. The snake and the sheep both fell over the edge and landed on the top of the smokestack. The snake plunged down through the smokestack onto the coals below, but the sheep was wedged in the smokestack high above the factory. The toxic smoke had already backed up and weakened most of the workers to the point they could no longer get out by the time the panic began. All but 3 workers were killed in the tragedy. The death toll was said to be near 458 lives, and would remain the largest number of people killed by a single sheep for at least 2 more decades.
Wait, so you're saying that this has been beaten?
Just beaten by something else, but we're not sure what. We have had people ask on the tour, what was it that replaced so many deaths from one sheep by another sheep?
Thanks for coming.
But we don't know. We don't have that answer. We're missing that small part of the tale.
We tried to update it.
We'll try
throughout
asking
the
around
season,
and
so
see if we can find out.
We'll try to get new exhibits in soon.
Before you hear is a certified giraffe examination chair. It has been placed here as a public service by the Giraffe Handlers Association. When a giraffe needs to be examined for multiple reasons, it's easier to inspect them from closer to their height. The doctor will climb up to the chair, and the giraffe will be brought closer for inspection purposes. What type of inspections, though, you may ask? Well, one purpose is to see whether they have the giraffe-like teeth, or if they have the less common human-like teeth, of course. But a far more common reason is to see if the ears have been laid with spider eggs again, as giraffe ears are known to be the perfect habitat for spider eggs. Laying their eggs deep in the giraffe's warm ear hairs, they lie forgotten until the time comes for hatching. If you have giraffes, tame or wild, near your home, be sure that they do not shake their heads frequently. This is one of the first signs that the spider egg laying has occurred. If your giraffes have ears infested with spider eggs, the time will come that they will hatch, and the giraffe's head shaking will deposit tiny hatchlings around and throughout your home.
Jesus.
That's right. You have giraffes near your home, do you?
We are never getting a giraffe.
Oh, that's good. That's the wisest route.
Giraffes are banned on the island, I've decided.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing. Put that in writing somewhere on a plaque and put it up on the wall so no one can forget it.
Yes, put it in writing.
Put it in writing.
Also, we probably need to warn you, if you see a spider, it's already seen you a mile away and started running, so be prepared.
Oh dear.
So, there's no way to eradicate the eggs or flush out the giraffe's ears?
Well, that's what the inspections are for, and if you do the inspections frequently enough, you may be able to catch the eggs before they hatch. That's when the good time period is. After they've done the hatching, it's already too late. You see, the little spiders will skitter their way down the giraffe's neck and all around your area.
Oh dear.
But there's always a chance that if you check the ears, there may not be spiders in there. Sometimes they're not in there. In a far-off kingdom, a rotten king reigned supreme. He was known to frequently decide that he had been slighted and to place people in prison to be punished or worse. The king unexpectedly ordered a particularly complicated feast from his chef Arthur in the middle of the night. The chef and the kitchen staff worked frantically, as tired as they were, to create a culinary masterpiece. The feast was a triumph, and the king later sent word if he may speak with the chef. Word arrived early in the morning. The king would be to the kitchens within the hour, and the kitchen staff readied themselves for his visit. The king arrived with his guards and quietly toured the kitchens as he thoroughly inspected a great many things. Nothing was said, however. The king looked at his guards as he approached the exit and simply nodded. The king's guards proceeded to destroy the kitchen's pots and pans and the kitchen tools. The guards turned to the chef and they said, "The king would like you to know he is displeased with last night's feast. You forgot to serve sea salt instead of salt with his meal." The chef was aghast. He knew he had served sea salt as he had prepared it himself. He only said "I" before he was cut off. He was told he was to be removed from the king's staff and to be placed in prison to await further punishment. The king felt assured mistakes would no longer be made in his kitchen, and as a test a few weeks later, he had a new feast prepared for the opening of the knight's tournament. At the end, a victorious knight stood remaining. The king was so unhappy, however. He had felt he had been slighted again, and that his favorite knight did not win the competition. So he rushed to the knight who had won, with a dagger in his hand. The knight flicked away the dagger and gave the king what was intended for the knight. The king now removed from life and power, the knight made their way to the throne and were seated. The shocked crowd dropped the facade of reverence for the old king and warmly cheered a new powerful leader. The gods, also shocked, but no longer hiding their contempt for the rotten king, said, "All hail the new king." To which the entrant removed their helmet and said, "Queen." "All hail the new queen," said the gods. "What would you have us do, your majesty?" they asked. "Firstly, bring me Arthur the chef from the prisons." Arthur approached the new queen, and he asked quietly, "Daughter, what has happened? And are those my pots and pans you are wearing?" "It's time to explain it all, father," she said. "They sent them to me at the blacksmith shop for repairs. They did not know I was your daughter." She smiled pleasantly at her father as they waved toward the crowd over the tournament field and the cold, dead body of the former king. "You always said that your pots and pans would bring us good fortune, father. You just didn't know how right you were."
Thanks for the follow.
I like that story.
I like the moral of that story. Because pots and pans can get you anywhere.
And that's an absolute truth. Look at this. Who would have thought? All just from pots and pans, and so shiny as well.
The Navy was here, and there was all cooks in that group, and they cheered that one. They really liked that one.
It was their favorite one. You're welcome to take a closer look at the.
How can the person fit in there? Look at the waist. It's so thin.
Yeah. You just get in. You just slide in.
Well, blacksmith, they are around heat all day, and so they're sweating that off. So they're thin and muscular.
Perhaps they used. Maybe they used the liberal amount of butter to slide it.
That could be possible. There's always that chance. Someone mentioned the graters, and they said, "Oh no, the graters on your arms." And I said, "Well, the graters aren't the same on the inside. They're not so sharp on the inside. You just slide them on, and then if you get into some sort of predicament, you can always rake the grater across someone."
That's true.
Yeah, that's an extra layer of surprise.
I'm sure with a little bit of sweating, I could fit in there.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Before we enter into the next room, just a word of warning, do not panic. Everything is under control. The fire is under control. If there is an actual emergency, we would direct you to the nearest fire exit. Right this way.
It's only fire that looks like fire. Nothing mysterious whatever in here.
Oh, good. I thought it was fire, but it's only fire. That's good to know.
Only fire that looks like fire.
Fake fire.
On a blazing hot desert island, it rarely rained. The fires were happening frequently, and to combat them, the residents used what they had to craft 2 fire carts. These carts, each pulled by the best rhinosaur the island could breed, were filled with water and pulled from location to location. Raspberry the monkey, found wandering an island used as a turtle habitat, was a pet of the head of the fire cart haulers. Out on one of their first patrols, they discovered something unusual. Raspberry had previously been trained to pull a cart. They decided that given his insistence that he be handed the reins, Raspberry would be trained to drive the rhinosaur of cart number 2. This worked more than well. Raspberry was already a complete natural at cart handling, and in fact needed no instructions at all. They even crafted a small seat just for him. This allowed the others to focus more on the fires. Months passed and the carts raced to and from the fires, with Raspberry excitedly guiding the carts all the way. One afternoon, after a particularly difficult morning of fighting a long series of fires, the bell rang out again. It was time to ready the carts, and Raspberry could not be located. The head of the fire cart haulers went to Raspberry's room and found the monkey sleeping in bed. Knowing the poor creature must be exhausted after morning they had another member of the fire cart haulers pull the reins. They left without poor tired Raspberry and headed off to the fire. Along the way, they spotted an unreported house fire, and they slowed cart number 2 to water it before they could catch up to cart number 1. While spraying the house, the door burst open, and a soaking wet Raspberry with an extinguished torch in his hand emerged. Not believing that Raspberry could be both asleep and at the scene of the fire, they checked his bed. Neatly shaped and arranged was a pair of trousers made to look like a sleeping monkey. Raspberry was wise at a great many things, cart handling and deception being among his greatest talents. He was returned to the offices of the Turtle Sanctuary, where he was found to retire from his very busy life. The fire stopped overnight, and the fire cart haulers were quiet until one afternoon a flare was fired, and a representative of a neighboring island had arrived. They wanted advice on fire carts, for they had been plagued with fires recently. They also needed a small seat in the front, as they had the oddest thing, a monkey who knew how to drive a cart.
Oh my.
Pyro monkey.
The monkey certainly knew how to keep his job secure.
Yeah, that's right. Create your own job for yourself.
Yeah, this monkey that's in front of us is not Raspberry, but it's actually Margaret, a stunt double. But it's a monkey that we...
A paid actor, one might say.
Yeah, a paid actor. But then again, the tail is very suspicious. It looks like it's been dipped in charcoal.
Part of the costume, I'm sure.
No, this is not a tavern filled with delicious libations. In fact, if you had been here 50 years ago, you would be dead. It wasn't unusual a long time ago to place additives into your spirits to give them an interesting afternote, be it bitter, sweet, or bittersweet. It was an unusually crowded evening the night before, and would be again at a combination inn and tavern. The tavern keep was too busy to go for the ingredients for a top note to add to the drink for the evening. The tavern keep sibling was sent to pick up the rare, delicious, green, sweet ingredient Magistine. The herbologist, however, was also out, and in their stead, their apprentice was working. The assistant herbologist mistook the Magistine for a more common pest remover, maggot stem. Nearly identical in appearance and flavor, coupled with an unfortunate similarity in name, the switch was made. The maggot stem was delivered to the tavern and used to give the libations a smooth sweetness. As is custom with a spirit house attached to overnight accommodations, the drinks poured heavily and quickly. The hallucinations began an hour into the evening, and the vomiting began shortly thereafter. Ingestion of maggot stem was said to produce hallucinations such as liquid running down the walls, inanimate objects breathing, skies filled with flying animals, and the mistaking of human form for animal. The chaos of the visions, coupled with the vomiting, began a putrid battle inside the tavern, where all fought for their lives. Any who made it outside were driven back in by the visions in the sky. Those victors who survived the vomitous battle were said to have lain unconscious on these very floorboards until their heart slowed to death.
Well,
that certainly seems like a terrifying way to go.
Yes, it is. Speaking of terrifying ways to go, if you'll direct your eyes across the hallway, that is our next exhibit on tour here today. If you've been to a hot, humid, tropical island, you know all too well the heat can be unrelenting. Two elderly brothers were looking for their lost goat near the home, and they stumbled upon something. A very large abandoned well. The well had run low water, but the inside had a beautiful pool at the bottom. The brothers knelt beside the lids to the well, and when they opened it, they could feel the cool, refreshing air blow past them. They thought about and discussed that well the remainder of the day and night. They awoke the next day and they had a plan. They would put a ladder down the well and see what was inside. They slipped from the final ladder rung into the cool, dark water and enjoyed the most luxuriously pleasant soak in neck-high, perfectly chilled water. The water drained a bit more over time, and instead of floating, they now had to kneel or sit on the bottom of the well. This did not suit the aging frames, and they began to talk of a new plan. It was decided to make the well a bit more comfortable. They moved in some furniture using ropes, and the goat, who was finally found in time to lower things down from the hatch above. This would be their final plan. Their friend, who knew the well and having not seen the brothers for some time, began to worry and look for them. When they approached the well, they could already tell something was wrong. The scent of mold and mildew and end of life met their friend before the well. For you see, as they were soaking in the cool dampness of the well, their furniture was also. The introduction of furniture began a growth of mold and mildew and rot that first tainted the well and then outright poisoned it. As the furniture was mildewing and molding from the outside, the cool, damp, dark back of the chairs was growing a deadly fungus. Before that fungus was discovered, it had already started to emit toxic spores which filled the well and the lungs of the two elderly brothers.
Well, that's an unfortunate way to go.
Well, a terrible.
Doesn't sound like a safe place to set up a spot for yourself.
No, not in an enclosed well. That really didn't work out well for them. Far beneath a beautiful country estate lie a strange fate for those unfortunate enough to have encountered a pair of mad, noble women. They had a secret which would have run the blood cold of those aristocratic circles they kept themselves in. The mad women had developed an unusual diet preference. Human toenails. Half-hearted soldier, drunken sailor, or sea wench, they were all preyed upon. They went out into the dark night to round up victims. They would wait outside taverns and dance halls for those inebriated enough not to put up a fight. A bag over their head and about 6 spins around was enough to knock even the stoutest person unconscious if they had been plied with enough drink. They would be locked into each of the chambers here beside me, and the feet scrubbed, cleaned, and the toenails carefully trimmed so as not to waste any of the precious resource. I know what you're all wondering. Why did they not just pull the toenails out at the root? After all, that's the sensible thing to do. Well, the sisters weren't monsters. They were just oddly hungry. So strangely hungry. Each victim awakened, dumped on the outskirts of a town, shoeless, sockless, pants rolled to the knee, but their feet had been beautifully scrubbed, and the toenails had been perfectly trimmed. The sisters were caught. They mistook a pair of sleepy officers for inebriated, and then were overcome by them. Threatened with having their toenails pulled out at the root, that is the sensible thing to do. They confessed to the entire ruse. Afterward, they fell from grace and out of high society, and they took on new identities where they began to work in a wash house, trimming the nails of those who came to bathe, thereby continuing to feed a most insane and unusual hunger.
I just want to know, I was not wondering that at all. At one point, no, I was not.
Mm-hmm.
A new, beautiful island freeport was too close to a deep water ocean trench. The frequent ship track to and from the island had angered residents of the deep waters. Many different creatures made their way from the depths to investigate the new disturbance of swirling water, mixing warm water down into their formerly cool trench, as well as introducing new detritus into the depths. Mermaids from the trench seemed to grow much angrier. becoming a constant, menacing presence throughout the waters. To teach their citizens defensive tactics, as well as to protect themselves against angry mermaids, and also to ensure that people would not fear nearing the profitable Freeport. The Freeport opened a training institute just off the shore. Seen before you here are the standard issue training form, as well as the specialized mermaid training form, developed specifically at the institute. Normally housed in deeper waters, these were used to teach citizens techniques to avoid or defend against angry mermaids. The mermaids seemed to realize something was occurring at the Freeport and really began to increase their violence. Eventually, they began to investigate the institute itself, making their way to the shore side where the training forms were stationed. Instead of damaging the training forms, the mermaids began to study them, possibly believing them to be figures in reverence of themselves. It is believed that they took this as a sign the mermaid was a respected neighbor and led them to stop their attacks completely. Unintentionally, the forms did work to protect the citizens. No one trained to defend themselves ever had to, and the mermaid forms were left in the water as a sign of continued mutual respect. Luckily for the Freeport, the mermaids had not witnessed the defensive techniques used against these training forms.
You're welcome to step forward and take a look at the eyelashes that's built into the head. Such detail in there.
Oh my goodness.
Any questions at all?
Those spatulas.
Oh, we're not sure. We didn't put it together ourselves. We're only showing you what they had put together. You know, they kind of look like spatulas now that I think of it.
I do believe they are, possibly.
That could be.
I mean, maybe that's what the mermaid eyelashes look like, spatulas.
Perhaps.
There's
No,
no
I have up close.
have to check and see. Right, that brings us to our next exhibit, and I believe the final one for everyone who's had the remainder of the tour. A skilled blacksmith made a fortune on board a ship, repairing the broken old wood stoves in a frozen polar region, a fortune that he intended to keep. Looking around his one day, he realized he had a dozen wood stoves that no one had claimed after they had been repaired. Needing to both remove the extra weight from the ship and also find a more suitable place to keep his treasure safe, he left the polar region for his home on a warm elephant island. He owned a small piece of the island, which included a swamp. The swamp was home to many horrendous beasts, the least of which were an endless amount of spiders. He knew the perfect location for a hideaway for his treasure was a well-hidden cavern on the edge of the swamp. You would never see it unless you had fallen into it. Covered in vines and growth, it was the perfect place, except it was home to thousands of very fast spiders. But he knew that spiders fear one thing more than all others, a larger, faster spider. To attempt to stop the spiders from living in the cavern, as well as to add an additional shock, should anyone be unfortunate enough as to stumble into the caverns, he carted the old forgotten wood stoves down the mouth of the cavern and created this monstrosity before you. Welding the stoves together and carving a stone plinth from the cavern's rocks, he successfully created a spider to frighten all spiders, and the others fled in fear, leaving him the freedom to place his treasure deep in the now delightfully spider-free caverns. He went back to making more and more treasures in the northern seas. Then eventually he readied himself for return to his cavern. Upon his return, he was looking forward to the spiderless cavern after having fought his way through so many of them through the swamp. He arrived at the cavern, and he found it filled with elephants, bursting at the seams with elephants. They chased him away from the entrance back to his ship over and over. For you see, the only thing that kept the elephants out of the cavern were the spiders, and the only thing luring them down into the darkness was the new multiple-armed scratching post that someone had placed there for them to scratch themselves on.
Oh dear, that is both terrifying and delightful in so many different things. Oh my goodness.
Ah, yes.
I'm not sure what to think about a spider that opposes other spiders. Very conflicting feelings.
A larger, faster spider.
Yeah, well, I didn't need to sleep tonight. That's fine. That's okay.
Right. Well, that brings us to the end of your tour here, as you have been through the other half of our tour today.
Can I interest anybody in some popcorn to go? Or is there an exhibit that you would like to revisit?
I definitely know I need a snack.
All right, snacks are just around the corner. We also want to ask everyone to leave a small review for us if you have the time, and to also drop a donation if you have anything at all, as well as visit our neighboring town, where we have an art gallery by Tanzine. She's a wonderful artist who has a great many different portraits available. She can do custom portraits of yourself or a favorite animal of yours, as well as she has some original artwork and some less expensive prints available.
I left you some coins, that as much as I had on me, and a review that you know, I want my review to be reflective of the experience, and I'm not up to that right now. But I would definitely like to take the tour again, and on the second through, and I'll have my thoughts a little bit more together. Hopefully, be less tired and leave you a suitable review for this experience. That's me. The others might be more inclined to leave something right away.
We understand that the seas make people very tired sometimes, so you're welcome to come back another time.
I wish I could do the seas, but no, I'm just old. I get tired quickly.
Oh, no, it happens. I'm a Boggert here is over 100 years old at this
I'm the
point.
oldest, but my twin sister is younger by 15 minutes.
You have to tell them we're twins. No one's gonna realize or understand that I'm as old as you are.
Well,
yeah.
you don't look a day over 80, both of you.
Thank you. That's a marvelous compliment.
Well, that was mighty sweet. Did I hear someone say something about a library?
Oh, yes. We operate a library over at Storywise Cove. Yes, yes.
Where is Storywise Cove located?
You can find us in D6, St. Lisa Island in the middle. There's lots of stories and of various categories. I will admit, Miss Boggert, I couldn't help but notice how well your stories would go in the written form.
Oh,
Definitely the visual aspect cannot be understated, but the stories themselves are powerful.
oh, thank you very much. Yes. Well, we like for everyone to come here and take the tour so they understand everything. Gotta see it all in your own eyes.
How about if you wrote, let's say, a teaser, you know, like a little preview, a short story that might whet the appetite of whoever reads it for more.
All right. Well, there's a chance we could do that. We'll have to think on it.
In either case, please, I would love to return the hospitality. Be sure to visit us. The library is open whenever. It has its own staff. And if you have a day off at some point, and
Usually during the week, we take our days off. That's why we're open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The other days, we kind of want to get out and explore. So,
that's true.
be
Well,
sure
please
to
do
come
come back.
for the library. And well, we have a lot of interesting things on the island. Some very nice shops and pretty buildings. The library has a wide variety of books. I'm sure you'd find something to your liking.
yeah. So we still have a couple of more exhibits that we need to research before we unveil them.
Oh yes, yes.
Excellent. Perhaps some of the books in the fiction section could give you inspiration.
Oh, interesting.
Or in the religion section has a lot of stories of similar nature.
Oh, all right.
Yes, yes. But I understand that it is well past your usual closing time.
Oh, you're perfectly fine. We was just going to go up to the zoo. If you hadn't heard about the zoo, the Royal Society up in B3 is opening up the zoo today. It's a grand opening.
Ooh, lovely.
Interesting. B3, you say where exactly? Do you know?
Do you know Stanley?
Let me just look here.
I got a flyer back in town. It's got all the information on it.
Should be the southeast island, just on the southwest side of the island.
Lovely. Perhaps we'll check it out. And I'll definitely try to bring the rest of our crew that wasn't able to make it at some point, maybe next week.
Oh yes, yes. We'll be open our normal hours next week. Unfortunately, we were closed on Saturday for Remembrance Day of a loved one.
Excellent. Any questions or anything to say from the rest of you? Did you leave your reviews?
Of course.
Left mine.
Well, thank you very much for your visit here today. We're glad you could hear all the warnings. Tell others to come and hear the warnings as well. We want people to be safe on the seas.
Indeed, indeed. And thank you so much for going back through all the exhibits you had gone previously. Very much appreciated.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm just glad you got to hear them.
Yes, I'll certainly never look at a pot the same way again.
Yeah, you just have to be careful of those clockworks too. There's one hiding in a creepy, cold, dark woods just north of the Freeport port in B6.
Really?
We did run into one in the woods. It has little knobs or buttons on its back. And there's a button on the left side and a button on the right side. And there's almost like a little arrow behind each button. It's very unusual. Looks very similar to an actual person. It's been painted to look like a person. But it behaves like a clockwork. Never sleeping, never leaving, never eating. Just standing. We do believe that the mechanics for the movement have not worn down, as it moves occasionally, but we do think that the winder for speech has worn all the way down, as it is not able to speak currently.
Well, maybe it can't eat because it cannot ask for food.
That's a chance, yes.
Edgar did push a button on the back of it, and it honked.
Yeah, it made a sound. It's unusual.
About the mannequins, the regular mannequins, do you know how to produce those?
Produce them? To make the mannequins?
Yeah. Make or acquire. I'm looking looking for our shops. Obviously, we don't need anything such as the clockworks. That'd be horrifying, but just a simple mannequin.
Simple mannequins? I may be able to craft a simple mannequin for you.
How many are you interested in?
Oh, I don't rightly know. Maybe 4 or 5 for. That should be all that we need between our shops.
Could maybe buy like a dozen, so we have a few spares. I don't know what they require for production, if they're very expensive to make.
They're expensive, I think, in fiber, and we have silk on the island, but it's probably a little patch here, a little patch over there, a little patch way back there.
Well, perhaps just a few then, and maybe we'll come back with materials.
Let me see what I can put together for you.
Oh, it's very nice of you.
Would you like to head back into town? That's where Boggett is heading.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you very much for the tour. I really like the story of the pot, the night with the pots.
Yes, the Queen story. That's the fan favorite right now.
The pot.
Yeah. It's really nice when you hear a story about a gluttonous leader that gets what's coming to him. It's always a favorite.
Yes, yes. They're very important morals.
Indeed.
I noticed the front of the thing kind of looks like a shark. That's...
Yeah, I noticed that when we got here.
I think it looks like a chomping turtle.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
And then it's got a tongue sticking out.
What's that?
It has a tongue sticking out of the front of the mouth.
Oh, the dog. Very nice.
It's very clever. I very much like.
Okay, I don't know what it is that everyone seems to be able to run faster than me.
How much is in your pockets currently?
Not too much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm loaded down with weapons.
That might be your issue.
Oh, I also have a cat. on my
Are you wearing plate armor, maybe?
Oh, yes I am. That's
Yeah.
That would do it too.
It's very, very clunky.
true, but it's very protective.
True, true.
Oh, what on earth is this?
Oh, this is just our reflection garden. You're welcome to walk through. We have a couple of greenhouse glass houses.
Well, I was more wondering this building piece. I'm a builder over at Storywise, so I'm always keen on architecture.
Oh. I'll ask Boggett. She was the one that crafted these. She might be able to tell you what they're called.
That's a lovely little house.
Well, I don't know about little.
Well, you know what I mean.
Where did we park?
Somewhere that way?
This is Tansy's art gallery and home. She's gone to the zoo. I would unlock the door, but she's not here at the moment. So next time you come to visit or something, maybe we can stop by and see her art.
Absolutely, I'd very much enjoy that.
She has quite a few paintings, and she does commission. So if anybody likes to have a painting on the wall, she made Elias's painting in the entryway and so forth.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't mind getting my hands on a piece or two, especially for the library. We have a couple of blank canvases yet for, artists of the seas to have their work displayed.
Oh, perfect. Maybe one day we'll come down and see Storywives, and we'll bring Tansy with us, and maybe she might have a couple of pieces that she could share.
That would be lovely.
Yes, if she does, do let them know that, as long as it is, let's say, child-friendly, they can put anything they like on the on the empty canvases. There's a few.
Oh, okay. This other house over here is Mr. C, who is standing behind you. I
hadn't even seen him.
Yes, he owns the upholstery business here in town.
Ah.
The what?
Upholstery. You put fabric over furniture, upholstery.
Oh, I see.
Thank you, Miss Boggett.
Oh, sir.
What's up, happen?
Also, I need to ask you, what are the little archways going into the gardens here? What are they made from?
Ooh, let me get you a couple of them so you can see.
That'd be lovely.
Well, I think I've reached about the end of my rope. I'm going to retire to the ship, and thank you for your hospitality, Mr. Boggert.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, I'll be sure to visit again with more people and leave you a proper review at that time. I hope to see you as well. Miss Boggett, thank you very much for the excellent...
You're so very welcome.
I'll be retiring, and the rest of you, do what you like, mile about, meet the people. I'm just going to go lay down. Thank you for coming along today. Did we lose Miriam? Well,
I think she returned to the ship already.
Okay. Well,
I'll be along shortly.
night, everyone. It's nice to meet you too. I'll come again soon.
Meet you as well. Night to you. Safe seas. Beware the shimmers.
I'm now scared of the shimmers thanks to your stories. Have to make sure to put the cat away next time.
So these are just simple signposts then?
Well, they're a little bit taller than a signpost, but they're very similar, yes.
Interesting. Well, thank you. Also, how much do we owe you for the mannequin?
Oh, don't worry about it. We had plenty of materials. We had more than I thought.
Well, thank you. Very much appreciated. I have been searching high and low and whispering in people's ears about needing mannequins for about a month now.
Oh,
so thank you.
Yes, there's a strange person at the Freeport. Sells that particular mannequin book. He's not with Carpenter, but he's more of a vendor within the town.
I will have to try to keep my eyes open for him, since I can make a good number of things, but I could never figure out how to make mannequins, so thank you.
I believe it's a book on tailoring. The book's Tailoring Studies.
Well, then I'll perhaps have to find somebody else in our group who is more keen on tailoring than I am. Unfortunately, not a skill I have.
No, it's a carpentry skill.
Right. Carpentry skill, and I was able to acquire the book without too much aggravation. I don't know if you have skill in tailoring, if it would actually help you. It's more of a carpentry thing.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
And the book is not very expensive, so.
Oh, wonderful. Well, again, thank you for your tour, and thank you for your kindness. I suppose we should be, possibly moving on so the two of you can get to your zoo. I'm assuming you're going to go visit there as well.
Yes, we have. Thank you very much for attending today and hearing the warnings.
Thank you.
Safe sails.
Thank you for
safe sails to you.
Good evening, people.
Oh, hello.
Hello there.
Hello there. Hi, name's Jake, by the way. I was going to come over and visit your little establishment over there, but I hear you're getting ready to take off. I don't want to interrupt that.
Oh, yes, we're just getting ready to leave. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I live on the island next door here anyway. It's all right.
All right, that's good. Well, we're on our way to the zoo to see the grand opening of the zoo.
Oh, where is that again?
That's just up in Bay 3. It's the southeastern island.
Thank you, thank you. We went there. Me and some crewmates went there once, and I forgot where it was when they were still building.
That's where we're headed now ourselves. There should be
Nice.
an event there if you're looking for somewhere.
Oh my!
We'll be here again next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
You two take care and safe. Just stay safe on those seas.
Right, you as well.
A lot of miscreants out there, you know.
Oh, you never know.
Oh, like last night, huh?
Oh.
What happened last night?
Or was it the night before?
I'm not quite sure.
It was the night before. It was quite full over here, I remember.
Oh, yes, it was swinging room only.
Well, you two get going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep you.
Oh, that's fine. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Hi, well, nice to meet you. Name's Jake. I have a Gem Corp. If you're interested in what we do, I'll just pass you a flyer. I don't have any flyers on me. Forget it.
Did you say you're just on the next island over?
Aye, over on Mass Valley.
All right.
I met some of the people here last night. I forgot her. Not last night, but the night before. Started with a T. I can't remember her name. Really nice lady.
Tansy?
Yeah, Tansy. Showed me her art gallery and everything. Really nice work.
Oh, yes. Didn't you say Tansy was already at the zoo?
Yeah, she and Elias went ahead already on his ship, I believe.
And I met Elias. Hi.
Yeah, they were waiting on a Stanley to come back and to tell him what was poppin', so he never came back, so they left.
Oh, right.
Well, now that I know the zoo's opening up tonight, maybe I'll head up there. Maybe I'll tell my crewmate that's awake.
Okay, we'll see you there.
You two have a good time. Aye.
Good night.
Well,
I'm certainly glad they left and they didn't wait any longer.
Yeah, they were waiting and waiting, because they thought you were coming back with the Earth Peeper, but... Nah. I can understand why the tour took so long, because that old man was talking so slow. What the balls?
Aye.
you feeling okay there, Mr. C?
Yeah, just relaxing. I got a lot going on.
Oh, all right.
Did you want to go to the zoo with us?
No, I have a lot going on.
All right.
So yeah.
Gentlemen, it was nice to meet you. Actually, I didn't catch you two's names, so I didn't want to interrupt your conversation, though.
Yeah, that's cool.
Name's Jake, by the way.
Stanley.
No, nice to meet you, by the way.
And I'm Boggert Slime. This is my twin sister, Boggett Slime.
I'm Boggert.
I have heard of you two. You run the... Which is why I came over. I knew it was you two as... By the description, I heard you two were like...
Oh.
Gorgeous and gorgeouser.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
You've quickly become infamous on the seas.
Oh, is that a good thing?
No, it's never good.
By the rate that people are pounding the door down, I suppose so.
Oh, I did hear people were here yesterday, and unfortunately we were closed. It was Remembrance Day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Remembrance Day for what down there in B6 or C6? Excuse me.
And no, just some tragedies in previous life.
Oh, sorry to hear. Sorry to hear. My bad. Hi, there was a memorial service that happened yesterday, is why I asked. A Miss Lila who got assassinated by a devilish man from...
No, that's not good.
From Port Everhart, which was a port town registered with the Navy, but it's been revoked now since all that happened.
Oh, no.
Right, we heard about that. She was the governess, I believe, right?
Oh, she was. It's bad dealings. Nice woman too. She was a sweetheart.
Terrible.
Aye.
Horrendous seas out here.
Aye. Well, you go have your funds, and I'll probably see you there.
Right, well, thank you very much. We'll see
Nice
you.
meeting you two.
Nice
Nice
meeting
to
you.
meet you.
And gentlemen, I don't think I'll be taking off. I'm gonna head back over my island, see if he's awake yet. And then there. Sorry? Most of my crew is of the oceanic time, so you know. Me and another crewman, Mr. Fernando, we're pretty much the only ones ever awake around this time over there. Except Mr. Haster sometimes wakes up to who's the president. You won't forget him once you meet him. He is a silver-tongued devil and a salesman to boot.
Going this way.
We're on this side of the island, actually. You can
Need to take a quick break and stretch my legs for a little bit. And then we'll head to the zoo. So I'll be right back.